this cultural truth is so question one, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being least and 10 being most, how much do you think you, it's your own grade on Islam, Arab Americans, and Arab culture? Like 3 separate distinct topics, but for now I'm lumping them all together. One is I can't find this area on a map. Okay. 10 is I got wrote my PhD dissertation on Middle East. So there's I think yeah, I said it's kind of open. So whenever there's a kind of the Monday, yes. But and there's no answer. How many people that are trying to say, I'm not even up your scale. I'm a zero. I know absolutely nothing about you.
Must be from Hunter.
I've had no cops and kids because they're blunt, but it was Methodist church high school students, and they went walking the land, opened me like, whoa, you're one of them. You speak such good English. I'm like, thanks, I've been here 30 years. It's pointed. Yeah, they're not to touch my students because most are usually armed. I'm like, don't walk your arm. But show of hands. So you. Good things one. Okay, good. Everybody did find Syria in a minute. Perfect. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're more than you're automatic 9. Fair enough. But this is consistent. No matter the audience, no matter if it's youth ministers, FBI intelligence analysts, corporate security at UPS, most people overwhelmingly rank themselves as ones, twos. Right? The goal for the day, if we have little time, of course, would be to move your number up. Whatever your number was, we push you up a bit. If you think you're a 2, you'll leave as a 4. If you think you're a 5, it's a 7, so on. If I dropped you, then I've done something draft, you're wrong. We discussed then why, right? Again, we're not getting into it now, but just this question, I'm curious. Why do you think, whatever number you put down, right? Why do you think you're 3? There's a lot of reasons for it. Anyway.
Well, one, because you're a 9.
That should not intimidate you.
Right, because you don't know what you don't.
Fair, we expect that, sure. You don't know what you don't know. Sir,
I think that I've read about and seen things in my lifetime, but that part of the world is so old. There's so much history. I don't know.
that's I was a history minor in college, okay? And there were a few ancient Greeks and a few ancient Chinese and a few ancient Egyptians. But basically civilized, I have to pick on you now. It's like, wait, yeah, right? We're related to sure, we're all cousins, But basically civilization started in England in 1600. Wait, there's more. So I hear you. And we don't really even learn about this stuff. So that's a great answer. Who else? Sir, world news, absolutely. We do a deep dive later, but again, this is the idea of media. So prior to law school, I was a media major and did a lot of research on the impact of media on the viewer, on the reader, we have social media and blogs, and it's not just books and film. And that is probably the biggest is media. What we see in the news. Which channel of news do you turn on? Right? I don't care about your politics, right about here. So what movies do we watch? What TV shows do we grow up watching? All these different things shape our perceptions and our misperceptions, right? So that's probably the biggest one, not just news, but media overall. And I've met the officers or agents or you name it, everything I learned about these topics, I learned from, TV. I went to the Jack Bauer School of Counterterrorism and I watched 24, and I love that show. And I know you're just an inspired correct. And I was like, hey, it's not. So what else? Why do you think you know so much of so little?
Just people I've worked with
Yeah.
and so really people I've worked with and the news.
So that's the other big one. The two biggest in my opinion are one is media, but 2 is the interaction or lack of image.
People better.
From those two things.
That's it.
Absolutely. So that goes to the bigger answer almost of interaction or lack of interaction, right? Well, you don't again, I grew up in small town West Virginia, not too many Arabs, I'll tell you that. But My cousins were 45 minutes away. But the comfort level to be able to feel comfortable to check with your coworker and say, hey, what's Ramadan? I know you said you don't eat, but what's that about? Or, oh, wait, you're Christian, but you're Arab, how's that work? Or, oh, you're Jewish, but you're Arab, that work? Right? All these little things, because we don't know, matter. And the lack of interaction goes to immigration, goes to. The lack of interaction goes to geography, goes to immigration. Even though Arab Muslims have been living here since pre-America, since about the 1500s, there were two large sources of immigration. One late 19th century, early 20th, one mid 20th century. And they, as with typical immigrant behavior, they tend to congregate in church zones. You can see now that late 19th, it was mostly Christian, leading over the Ottoman Empire, coming by boat to the New World. So as the boats came, many came to North America, many more came to Central and South America. So the Arab American community in Latin America, what we affectionately call Arabtinos, I asked one, she said it was Lucas, are about 30 million. Similar to Irish in New England, or Italian in New England, right? Everybody say in Boston, but on Italian, everybody gets it, right? That's how they in North America. Second wave, typical epileptic behavior, they congregate in comfort zones. The same, you've got little Havanas, you've got Korean, you've got Chinatown, right? You've got Irish neighborhoods, you've got Arab neighborhoods. Anybody at the airport? You see it? Right? It's crazy. I was working out there right there for about I can't wait. Like shawarma, chicken shawarma with garlic that would kill 10 feet away. So good, right? That's the largest Arab community outside of the Middle East. The second largest, Montreal, Canada, both in the Western Hemisphere, right? And as with that typical immigrant behavior, people either stay congregated in the old country, or they go off and blend with the broader society, whether you want the melting pot theory or the salad bowl theory, it doesn't matter. They basically become Americanized, right? So you've got. Sorry, I'm keeping time to check. Usually we'll discuss this a lot more. We'll discuss geography, we'll discuss what makes it a country. So, yeah. True. True or false? All Arab Muslims, all Muslims are Arab. All Muslims are Arab. And all Arabs are Muslim. Well, right. Most people know it's false. A lot of people can't tell you what the difference is, right? And again, I love toxic kids because they're blunt. I used to train a police academy in DC years ago, and one officer is throwing his partner around with a blunt, like, people are true, all right, don't. That's not the chance to his partner.
Don't get.
You think you hate me? Wow, you think I hate you? Let's talk about it, right? But I want that kind of back and forth. But unless I tell you, you're not really gonna know. I could pass for white, I could pass, I usually get Puerto Rican. I joke Puerto Ricans are better looking people. You get Welsh? Because you're lighter skin, right? Yeah, exactly. First cousins, I'm more olive and darker, she's white with blue eyes, right? And both parents are Arab, and so. And is it Iman?
Yeah.
Right, Iman is darker, Egyptian origin, right? So, and I've got first cousins who look Swedish, very fair skinned, blonde hair, blue eyed. I've got other first cousins who are sure about your complexion, right? So the skin tone isn't a measure at all because we're all mutts. Like you said, it's such an old part of the world. You had the Persians were there, the Greeks were there, the Romans were there. So we're all mutts. I did the 23andMe before the government said, don't, China now has your DNA. And I'm like, but I'm a mutt. I'm a proud mutt, right? Mutts in the dog world live longer and they're smarter. I'm like, all right, I'm a mutt. So, but I'm watching my time. I got 9 minutes.
You can have a little more, it's your time.
No, I don't want to, I'm always good about respecting time, so, but we discussed kind of appearance and what we think somebody should look like versus what they truly look like, right? If I say Latino, an image may pop into our heads of what a Latino should look like, and maybe it's somebody like me, right? versus when we take a closer look on that spectrum of color, and I hesitate to do it this way, but we often think in those terms, Latinos go across the spectrum. You've got very fair-skinned white Latinos, olive or green Latinos, brown Latinos, and black Latinos. And they're all Latino, right? Same goes for us. That part of the world is so ancient and so old that basically we go across the spectrum. I have my cousin Seema here to kind of point, but I usually reference my brother, who's fairer skinned, non-crooked, non-Semitic nose. Kareem could walk in here and be like, "Morning, everybody. My name is Jason," and you wouldn't bat an eye. If I've done this, that's why I speak with confidence. If I walked in and said, "Hi, my name is Jason," you might be like, "Oh, maybe Jose, not really, not feeling Jason out of you, right?" So, yeah, out of computer. So, but we cover what makes a Middle Eastern or an Arab appearance, and these are based off real things. So again, I've been in the national security side. I'm here in my personal capacity, of course, but we had phraseology coming out of different government entities looking for SAMs. What's a SAM? Suspicious Arab male. Or MMD, male of Middle Eastern descent. Ooh, sounds scary. What's he look like? Could be you, could be literally, sorry if this is bad news, literally, all of you could pass for Arab. Good luck flying. I'm former TSA, you're all screwed. No. But
The
it's,
second country always stopped at TSA.
oh yeah?
It was in the 80s, the typical terrorist look, like he had this little mustache.
Typical
He was always searched, random, always.
You need training. What's the typical terrorist? Oh,
Bad.
oh, really? I didn't know that. But the follow-up question, this is a little harder. What makes an Arab country? Right? Now, the countries in yellow are not just the Arab world. They're member states of the Arab League. The Arab League is kind of like the European Union for the Arab world, but not as powerful or influential. So because Somalia and Djibouti are not Arab, as you can see, they are in yellow. Now, the two countries most often confused for being Arab, and they are not, and you see there in green, are Iran and Turkey. Walk up to an Iranian, call them an Arab, see what they do. You're Canadian, right? No, piss off, I'm an American. Oh, you're all the same, North American people. That's how we get treated, right? German, French, Europe, whatever, same thing. Yeah, tell that to a Frenchman, see what they do. There's a history there. So
They're Arabs.
Turkey and Iran are often confused for being Arab, but they're not. So how do we determine what makes an Arab country? They speak Arabic. That's a really easy one, sure. What else? How do we know Iran and Turkey are not Arab? They don't speak Arabic. But so that's the ultimate answer is ethnically they are different. Arabs are Semites. We're a Semitic people. We're united by the Semitic languages: Arabic, Amharic, Aramaic, and Hebrew. Of those four, we tend to know most of Hebrew. Everybody knows Shalom in Hebrew, Arab equivalent, Salam. Tomorrow, highest holy day in Judaism, Yom Kippur, Yom Kabir. Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah. So even if you don't speak either language, you can hear there are similarities, right? It's like if you speak Spanish and you hear Italian, right? And you're like, wait, you're just adding an extra to every other word. Now it's a standalone language. I'm kidding, of course, but you get the point. They're same root, they're related. Same goes for the Semitic languages. Arabs are Semites. Iranians are Aryan. Even the name of the country is derived from that, Iran, right? Nobody tell the Nazis Aryans were actually Central Asian folks, not German. Don't burst their bubble. Turks are Turkmen. So again, ethnically they're different, but short of doing the little DNA swab and having somebody spit and be like, okay, you're 76% Italian or whatever it might be, right? The best way I've found to determine what makes an Arab country is to compare and contrast with what makes a Latin American country, because we're more familiar, right? And it's through three prongs, from broadest to narrowest. The broadest one is a cultural and historical link. They share a lot of the history. They share a lot of the culture, similar food, similar attire, similar folklore. That very broadly fits for Latin America, and that very broadly fits for the Arab world, right? Narrower one dominant religion, although not the only one. Latin America, Catholicism, obviously it's not the only one. Arab world, it's Islam, but it's not the only one. Depending on where you are, Lebanon used to be about 50% Christian. Syria at least used to be about 15% Christian. You've got smaller religions and sects such as Alawites and Druze. And then you've got, like Tunisia and Morocco have larger minorities of Jews. So, but majority still are Muslim. The kicker, which was your answer already, the narrowest one is one dominant language with many different accents and dialects, although not the only one. Latin America, Spanish, Brazil, of course, speaks Portuguese, many different accents and dialects. Arab world, while everybody there speaks Arabic, the difference in accent and dialect can't be overstated. I always pick on Egypt because Egyptian throws me off, right? Egypt, the amazing history and culture and civilization of Egypt want to feel more special, and so they decide to pronounce one letter different than everybody else. So instead of Egypt, it's Egypt. And that's enough to confuse no one. I'm like, no, you lost me. So, but generally speaking, the difference in accent and dialect is big. Again, somebody from my home state of West Virginia speaking to somebody from Scotland. Still English, but it's Scotch English. Have you guys heard real Scottish? Like watching Braveheart doesn't count. That's a bad Australian American-ish Scottish accent, right? But it's still English, right? It's Scotch English, but they have different sounds, different words with different meanings and so on. Same goes for Arabic there. It's all written the same, but spoken Arabic varies tremendously. Now, in theory, any well-educated Arab can understand any dialect. But let me tell you, I stopped formally learning Arabic at age 10. I struggle speaking Arabic anywhere, or reading, or I read more Arabic when I did counterterrorism than I had my whole life, because I'm like, this is bad. We need to do something with this. So, but that's an easy way to determine what makes an Arab country. Iran and Turkey share a lot of the, excuse me, share a lot of the culture and history. Iran and Turkey share the dominant religion of Islam. Iran and Turkey are both kicked out under language. Iran speaks Farsi or Persian. Turkey speaks Turkish. Let's take Greece. Greece shares a lot of history and culture, right? Nobody's like, we invented war. We're like, we invented really good food, right? Is it baklava or baklawa? Is it a gyro or shawarma? Is it hummus or hummus? That one didn't change, right? That kept it the same, right? So it shares point one, a lot of history and culture. It's kicked out into the second prong. Dominant religion is Christian Orthodoxy. Well, it's immediately booted, right? Let's take Finland. Well, Finland doesn't mean any of them. So to me, but that's an easy way to determine, is Pakistan an Arab country? Let me see. Well, this, that, right? And no, it's not. Sir.
I know you're running out of time, but
Yes,
I have
sir.
a question to me that's very important.
Absolutely.
And that is, I'm always curious about people's spiritual journey, their ethnic background, but I'm very hesitant to ask people, especially strangers.
Yeah.
I'll see somebody with different headdresses,
Sure.
and I want to know about it. So can you help us on how to get that conversation going?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And I'll end there unless you guys have Q&A. I'm walking around with a post-it note saying, I want that engagement. I want you to ask me questions. But there are others, and it's personal preference, who might be more private, maybe more introverted. It's like, oh, I'm a Sikh male with a long beard and a turban, and I don't like you're looking at me because you think I'm a terrorist. I'm not even Muslim, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that confusion.
Yeah.
Most turban men we see in our country, probably like 90%, are not Arab, not Muslim, they are Sikh, or the proper way to pronounce it is Sikh. They're from central northern India. It's a separate religion. They could be, I've met white or black Sikhs. It's a religion. You could convert into it, but generally they are South Asian. So I would say, I mean, it's the basic stuff of ask with a smile,
Yeah.
right? I would say if you're curious about the religion, you can call up the local mosque, and I'm sure there's one around here too, and say hi. I just want to learn, because people don't understand, especially with Islam. We see ourselves as chapter 3 in a 3-chapter book. Chapter 1 being Judaism, chapter 2 being Christianity, and then we think there's a third and final chapter, and that was Islam. Nawar can't show up in 2025 and say, I'm Nawarism, I'm chapter 4, right? It's supposed to have started with Adam, but ended with Muhammad. But all three are called people of the book. Notice it's singular, not plural. So the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran are supposed to be part of that same greater narrative. And you'd be surprised if you don't know just how similar the religions are. Yes, they're 3 separate and distinct faiths,
Oh, yeah.
but the similarities far outweigh the differences.
And let me add to that. How do you ask about ethnic background? Because I always would love that, but then I don't want somebody to think, what do you think, I'm not an American?
I do that. I love connecting with people. So, but our human nature tends to be, a person of color, I'm going to ask them, where are you from originally? I'll pick anybody, you know, what's your family heritage? But I'll literally like, I'll have a waiter, I'll have somebody, and I'll literally be like, may I ask what your family heritage is?
Family heritage.
That's
Good.
so versus, you know, because people, I used to ski with my kufi, the checkered scarf that's purely cultural, has nothing to do with religion. This is West Virginia in the snow, right? Like brown skin, white snow doesn't connect, right? But it was such a conversation starter because people were scared, right? They're like, what? You get the lift all to yourself, you're going down the slopes, you're like, oh. No, I'm kidding, I didn't. But so many, I told you, I'm an idiot. God is great,
That's
right?
greater than everything
Right.
else. That's all it means,
But
yeah.
people got scared, right, exactly. Sadly, it's become, so here's the thing, and I'll end with this. When they say ISIS, Al Qaeda, and all these, they've literally hijacked our faith. Imagine if the Irish Republican Army or Sinn Féin, before committing any attack, would do the crucifix. How would Christians feel? How would Catholics feel, right? And you'd be like, that's not, what are you doing? So that's how mainstream Muslims feel when we see ISIS and Al Qaeda hijacking the faith, trying to make it something religious when it's not. But religion is always a great motivator. We can go back to Pope Urban II with the First Crusade. There's always, you know, they're fighting you for your God. Go die for your God. So I'll stop there because I'll be respectful of time. I helped you 2 minutes over.
Come back for part two.
Yeah.
Happy to. So I told Seema, if any of you, whether it's Rotary, whether it's your houses of worship, whether it's your corporation, whatever you want, if you guys want me to come out, I'm happy to come out. I generally need minimum 60 to 90 minutes, ideally 2.5 hours, but you go the full run through, same bad jokes, so you have to forget.
Yeah.
But you
I would love that.
absolutely happy to. And Seema has my information. You're welcome to give my information to whoever needs it. So
And his book is here. He hasn't
If
mentioned it.
anyone.
I've already
Look
bought
at
it.
the illustrations, the first cousin, first removed.
no, the illustrations were actually a famous Syrian political cartoonist, Ali Farzad, who my publisher happened to be the same publisher as his.
Not even your cousin did them?
No.
Oh, you're gonna get in trouble.
She's good. Yeah, first cousin, right? So, but that's it. So that's the overview. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Personally, I would be very interested. I was thinking about how can we have a community event and bring people together? This is the type of stuff that we need to be talking about.